It is my intention to break this subject, this part of the practice, into two talks. Firstly, because the concept of it in and of itself is difficult to get your mind around. Secondly, because the natural resistance to absorption of what I'm going to tell you makes it much more appropriate for me to teach it in smaller amounts than to try and sit down and have you eat a 12-course meal and expect to get anything out of it. You'd get something out of it, but most of it would pass through you. Better we take it in some smaller bites and get more out of it. Not that you won't have this meal again, but let's not leave here feeling over full. We're going to talk about conscious incarnation. What does that mean? Well, I'd like to explain what it means by explaining what it doesn't mean first. And then it'll be easier to understand what it means. There are several different ways of looking at how we progress through life. One of them is we go through a single lifetime. Got my notes. We have a birth, we have a death, and we have a form. That form changes within that lifetime. And after that death, we have some question marks. We can either, in some people's belief systems, they believe there's life after death, okay? So let's say like the Christian belief systems, those in Christianity believe that you ascend into a heavenly space. And what I want to show you is that when I'm talking about the practice is applicable to any religious belief system you have. It in no way says that any of them are in any way wrong in what they teach in any way. That would absolutely be not the point of what I'm doing. However, what I'm going to teach you about conscious incarnation is going to rattle that system and make you think about it differently. If the reason I asked you all intentionally to create the space within you before I plant this seed is because what it will do is, if you are still in a space where you are believing and using a religious belief system, which is great, they all have many, many benefits, it should only augment and enhance that exponentially. If you're in a space where you no longer are using one or have never used one, it's going to give you a lot of good stuff to work with too. So I'm only describing these things to set the context of what I'm talking about. But this is a very sensitive subject for a lot of people. Not just because of what they believe now, but because of past beliefs in childhood, or for those of you who are open to this, past life beliefs that you've had where you've engaged in religious beliefs. So I'm purposely being intentional in saying I mean no harm to any of those spaces within you. It's not my intention. So we have a birth, we have a death, we have a form. That form goes through changes. After that form, we either go to, and we're using commercial terms here, heaven. You know, this is undefined. Okay, so it's all good. Heaven, or some people believe you go to the G. You just go to the ground. And it's over. Both of these are kind of based on, you kind of get one shot. Based on how you do, you go to somewhere afterwards, or you go nowhere afterwards. Okay? In reincarnation, okay, deals with this type of format. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. Ultimately, we reach a point called enlightenment. This is more of a Buddhist or Hindu type base. You know, I'm not claiming to be experts on all these things. I'm just giving you the format so you can understand the difference of what I'm talking about. I'm not here to educate you on this. I'm not here to educate you on this. I'm here to talk about conscious incarnation. So I'm giving you basic groundwork. So anyone who heavily practices these, if I'm slightly incorrect in any way, forgive me. It's not my intention to educate on that specific thing. But the concept of what I'm teaching is the same. And there'll be a form associated with every one of these. And this is what they will call, and I'm going to put LT. I'll put an LT here, and LTs will be all across here, okay? Dot, 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 dot. What does that mean? Lifetime. And the lifetime is defined by the birth and death of a form. And in some of these religions, you can be in many different types of forms. You can be human form, animal form, plant form. You can be in any kind of form, okay? Conscious incarnation means you are consciously incarnating through multiple lifetimes within a single form. Which means you are not letting form decide when your lifetime begins and ends. You are letting consciousness. You are consciously incarnating. And as your consciousness incarnates, you are then able to go through birth, death, 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 in a single form with multiple lifetimes. Now, I could be wrong. My information is usually pretty reliable. I have never seen this taught. That's why it's so exciting to teach it. Which means you are no longer a captive of form to get through a specific lifetime. You are no longer a victim of a consequence or a situation that puts you in a lifetime where you're well, I mean, we're going to be stuck. We're in a form. So, I mean, this is one form. So if you were, obviously, if you're a dog, you know, you're a dog until you're done being a dog in that form. That's why this is within a specific form. You have an infinite number of opportunities to increase consciousness. And as you increase consciousness, you can change your form, optimize your form, and depending on the levels of consciousness that you are moving through and what you are capable of doing based on your consciousness in the starting point and your consciousness at the ending point, you literally birth and death out of things. So many of you have been coming to see me for a long time, okay? I haven't been telling you that most of what I've been doing for you is bringing this. Because who wants to go see a doctor that's killing him? Why do I go see this doctor? Like, God, he gives the best death I've ever had. He gives great death. Dirty minds. So this is what I do. So literally, as far as I'm concerned, everybody in a lifetime is going through birth and death. Now, I'm breaking this lifetime down into what you guys are considering, you know, let's just say whatever, a year, all right, or whatever, or 5 years, or 10 years, or whatever. What I want to show you is that as big as this is, This is your ability to release and surrender is obviously the rate limiting step in consciousness. But in this equation, this is the rate limiting step. Which means, I got to erase this. But we've got pictures. Which means this. And this is what's exciting. And this is what I've seen with all of you. You guys, I've been studying all of you for 15 years. All of you have come to see me. All of you have come to see me are a part of why I teach this. All of you have come to see me are a reason why I became awakened to this. That's why the perfect name for the book is called The Practice. Because it's the practice of being with people in a space of love that opened me up to receive the information that I'm teaching you. So all of you have contributed to me teaching this. That's why all of you should be here. All of you will be a part of it. That's the practice. It's what it's all about. When you look at an axis, the longer the lifetime, okay? The longer the time between birth and death, the longer it goes out that way. Okay? Make sense? As we enter into practicing the practice, where we are completely letting go, where we don't have feelings and emotions to work through, and without feelings and emotions, we can, to a greater extent, embrace both birth and death until it enters a space where it is one and the same moment. This, and let's put consciousness, my writing is just atrocious. I'm just not a good writer. It's one of my things, but you know what? I think we'll all get by. This is consciousness. This, instead of doing this, can do this. Logarithmically go into expansion. This is where miracle transformations have been occurring with all of you. I work with you, work with you, work with you, work with you, work with you. Boom! Things shoot right up. All of a sudden, things are gone. Some of you come to see me at this part of the curve. Completely open. So within a visit, boom, you're up. Things are gone. Physical symptoms are falling away. Because I've released enough death in you and helped you come to peace with enough, because you were more open to move quicker, that boom, you're up here and things are gone. This is accelerated forms of healing. Some of you need a lot of understanding, you need more talking, you need to practice more. You're farther back on the curve. So it takes longer to get to that point. But my point is, this exists. That's what's exciting about teaching you this. This exists. So this is how conscious incarnation, bless you, looks at, I don't want to even say a lifetime. This is how it looks at infinite form as a result of infinite consciousness per lifetime. Big meal. I know those looks. Gotta use the bathroom. He's doing it again. Okay? So let's reflect. This makes sense to everybody in theory? And most of you have experienced it that have seen me.
What's the up axis?
This would be consciousness. This would be, let me see. Good question. I got to remember. I would say this would be rate of change. That we can enter into an accelerated rate of change. Great question. Thank you. Needs to make sense. Always good to have an attorney in the house. I love it. It's great. So rate of change, okay? So rate of change is our vertical consciousness. So consciousness can go through an accelerated rate of change as we accept the process of conscious incarnation, which means a lifetime and a birth and a death can be in a single moment. Okay?
When you say birth and death, is it birth and death of your consciousness or of your thought, or is it birth and death of your body?
Everything. That life is lived in a series of infinite moments, which means everything must live and completely die. Which means the reason I'm talking about this last is because as we enter into this accelerated rate of change, okay, what can you hold on to? Nothing. And when you try and hold on to something as you do this work with me, what do you tend to experience? It's okay, say it. Resistance, which comes up as pain, congestion, sinus infections, pressure problems, all kinds of adaptive symptoms that mean you're not open to a high rate of change. Most, if you look at the other ones, okay, they are going by lifetime by lifetime by lifetime. Now, in the one that we talked about that was like this, with a single form, that one you kind of go like this. You start off in your birth, you accelerate into this part of your life, okay? And then you go into this next part of your life called, we're not using that word anymore here, but most people would call it getting older. And it's marked by
Decline.
thank you, decline. And we've got a wonderful example, if you don't mind me using you, since you're here, okay? That he's had a long time history of gout. And it's, well, this is the way I am, this is how old I am, I take this medication, blah, blah, blah. The same story I've heard from all of you a bunch of times, but he's right in front of me and I just saw him today, so he's fresh. Fresh meat. And so we've been doing some great work together. You know, Jimmy's a great, he comes to the unwind class, he does the form work, he stretches, and we're treating things to clean out his organs and regenerate his organs. And now he's taking like 25% of the medicine he used to, and he doesn't even have any signs of it pre-gout. Which means he is not in this, is he? No, but if I might ask you in human age, how old are you?
62.
62. 62 is definitely along that curve, isn't it? According to what they all know. Okay? And that's a physical example. I have emotional and spiritual examples of people who are, how old are you? You.
68.
68. Who's made incredible emotional and spiritual shifts. Who are usually in this space of emotion as well. Or they're doing this. I'm at where I'm at. That's it. This is how I am. So this is not true. This is true if you believe it's what consciousness is. This is true if you believe this. Or even if you believe this, it's true. But with what I'm being made aware of, it isn't really what has to be true. It's not the truth. It is a very small segment of the truth that's been made to be the whole truth. When you look at, again, even if you look at multiple incarnations where you're going from one form to another, within that single form lifetime, you still are going through that. And they'll say, well, once you're in a space of enlightenment, you don't have to come back into a form anymore. Okay. Well, to me, I'll give them whatever. I mean, I'm not here to argue what anyone thinks, but I'm going to tell you the truth. You will always be in the field of life in one form or another. And even being formless is still a form. That's the truth. If that gives some of you a lot of hope or joy, that's great. And if it makes some of the other people scared out of their pants, then you know what? Either way, that's the truth. You will always be in life in one form or another. In one form or another, even if you're formless. That's why the practice teaches you how to live in life eternally, irregardless of your form. It is a practice. When you come to peace in a space of completeness, no matter what form you are, no matter what space of this you're going through, essentially as you get to this space, your rate of change is so fast, you're changing and birthing and dying so fast, that there's nothing really that isn't completely meant to happen is going to stay in your life. When you're birthing and dying in a single moment, when you're open to that kind of incredible change, nothing can stick. You can't get stuck in anything. You can't get stuck in any disease patterns long enough for them to even manifest. And the ones you do have from being stuck in all this start to fade away as you go up. So my point is, even if I died, even if I had a life-death moment, bringing it back to this space, and in this space, and I had a heart attack, right there. And I had a heart attack at 43 years old. But I was living in this space of acceptance and love and surrender. It was just a moment. Who cares? It's onward. Because what else could I be doing to eliminate dis-ease in my life at that point? You can't even believe in it being dis-ease anymore. It's an incident. That's what it was. That was it that time. Next. But the cool part is, in this space that I find more and more of you, disease doesn't exist. It goes away. Which means when we completely trust, this is where I'm bringing life, or the creator of life, God, with everything, moment after moment after moment after moment after moment, we are naturally purified of everything that is not in our highest good of transformation. So we let go of unnecessary experience. And at this point, whatever we're experiencing in that space of harmony with life must be absolutely necessary for us to grow in our space of consciousness. We accept that completely. We are learned by it. We are taught by it. We learn from it. And we continue to ascend. Now, at a high rate of change like this, as you enter into this accelerated rate of transformation, do you understand why these teachings have come through the way they have? Is it possible for you to understand everything going on in your life as you're living in this space? No. Understanding and intelligence has done this to the curve. It's flattened it out. Why? Because we want to be God. We want to understand. We want control. We want control over our life and death. We want control over that. We want to stretch that out. We want to make it last. This is why these teachings are so profound. We are doing the exact opposite of what we need to be doing. I want to live. I don't want to die. I want to live as long as I can. You're going to live forever. So we stretch it out. And in stretching it out, we fight this, okay? Because all consciousness, regardless of how long or short this line is, relatively speaking, all consciousness is at some point going to end up in a space of oneness and peace with life. It's God's deepest intention for us all. We're all going to end up in that space of oneness with all. We're going to realize we are one with everything and all things, and that there's this force that I, in my consciousness, call God, and that force creates all. And we finally, at some point, realize we are one within that one, and it's all good. In the end, God had it all figured out. And we don't have to. I don't know. Okay? So I don't know was the beginning of this coming to me like, wait a minute. Trying to understand slows this out. And I can tell you, there's a lot of you in here. I treat some incredibly intelligent people, and you suffer more than anybody. And I tell you that, God, you're so intelligent, and it must be difficult. It must be difficult. Why? Well, I know your pain. I knew your pain. I was very intelligent, and I say was. I surrendered my intelligence. I gave it up for wisdom. I gave it up for intuition. I gave it up for peace. I don't need to understand. That's how I came to know all this stuff. Not because I'm intelligent. Because I just said, I don't know what's going on. Will you please just show me so I can teach people how to live life eternally? That's when I started getting this information through. That's when I put I don't know. That's when the whole journey started. It started way before then, but consciously I realized there was a point to it at that point. Okay, so we stretch out life and death. Okay? I only want to live in this form as long as I'm supposed to live in this form, not a minute longer. How do I know that's going to happen? Because I live my life in a space of balance, like I've been teaching all of you. I practice the practice. So in practicing the practice, again, if this is how this form ends, I don't care. What else could I do? I'm at peace. It's over, it's over. But it's not over. It's a moment. And the moment that I pass from this form, I'll be into some other form of life. Do I know what that is? Nope. Do I care to know? No. Will it be great? Yeah, it'll be great. It's God. I don't care what it is, it'll be great. It's got to be great. It's the intuitive way. It's all good. That allows me to go through birth and death cycles holding on to anything. Not holding on to anything. I can't hold on to anything. I don't know what I am anymore. When I was a son or a father or a doctor or whatever, I was doing this to the curve. Now I have no idea what I am and I'm going that direction. Trust me, identity is not worth the hassle. You are all manifestations of God in human form right now. Period. This transformation is possible for everybody on every level. Now, to what extent this transformation will yield you changes in your actual form, that's all open based on your form, based on your openness to change, based on the part of your life that you're in terms of not your momentary life death cycle, but your physical form's life cycle. But you have to believe everything is possible. But what I find is possible in any form, which is the most important thing, and this is repeatable. This has been shown in person after person after person, irregardless of their form. And if you listen to the trailer and you listen, if you could hear each other say things after the visit, you'd all find you say the same thing. There is a dramatic increase in peace. Which means even people who came in to see me and they're in their 60s or 70s and they still have some stiffness or some achiness here or there, they're at peace. They're at peace. Not only is that great, because then they're just, they're in a place of peace and acceptance with whatever's going to happen. And we are all going to go through form changes. We talked about that last time. It's going to happen. You might as well be at peace with it. Then you're not accelerating it, and you're not elongating it or flattening out the line. You are able to enjoy your life. So many people let form changes or resistance to things end up being the reason they don't enjoy their life. It leads to a lot of regret, a lot of frustration, a lot of problems. So that is acceleration of consciousness, higher levels of peace, higher levels of acceptance, higher levels of unconditional love. Who cares if your body's still a little bit sore? But in most people, many of those symptoms do go away. Or are lessened, or are less important, which means they're lessened. Okay? One of the big things that I find to stretch this curve out, one is understanding, and the other one is just people don't want to die. They don't want to die. They're all about the birth, but they're not about the death. Death is beautiful. Death is beautiful. Death allows change to happen. And when you embrace death, that doesn't mean you don't want to live. You can't help but live. Stop the superstition. Death is a necessary part of the circle of life. It brings endings. Now, what I talk about in this is that I want to erase this and then I want to show you what this line for most people does. I want to watch where I'm at with my time because I want to stop at an appropriate place. Like, that's too soon. How long do we usually go to? 6:45, right?
Yep.
All right. gonna draw a picture, and then I'm gonna leave that picture, and we're gonna start that next time, okay? But I want to give you guys the picture. When you look at this, and then I'll remember to start at that same spot. When you look at that same thing, and I told you the line is this line will kind of make it dotted. For most people, this line is this. What I find is, as people move through this space, it turns into this. Until they get to the point where it's linear. Now, I didn't exactly know how to talk about this transition, but someone, a good friend of mine, read a book, and he said this is the point at which space and time become the same thing. This is the point in which time no longer exists. And you live in a space of timelessness. Once you experience the space of timelessness and you're catching that into your field, then you have absolutely no resistance to living with exponentially high rates of change. Because you're done with time. And when you're done with time, you can live through infinite birth and death. Because you are not trying to hold on to your life, which is based on time, or your possessions or anything else. I've only got so much time left. You are at that point of release in which space and time are simply the same thing. There is no time, and you are therefore free from what held you in a space of lifetime at all. You are simply being life in form forever. So it's a good place to stop. We'll come back. We'll start with this the next time. And I know this is I expect questions on this one when I get your email questions and you guys submit questions. We'll do another talk on this next week, and then I'll have you guys either, if I feel like we're done, then I'll have you guys email, and you're gonna get barrage, but that's all right. I want you to email me questions or submit written questions that I'm gonna go sit with, and then when I come, maybe after a couple weeks, I'll talk to everyone and we'll set up something. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. We'll come back and I'll address all those questions. And then we'll go from there. I want to thank you. I was able, through this process, I sat down this weekend and wrote the first 4 pages of the practice. And I wrote those 4 pages in about, 5 to 7 minutes. So I wrote the purpose of the practice. So thank you so much. It was a wonderful experience, and I know it's going to be coming more and more now, but I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for all of you. So we will continue next week, continuing to talk about conscious incarnation, and I really want to spend time incorporating our belief and talk about death that we started with in this. And I'm going to be tying all the past talks into this system, so you understand why it was read through me the way it was, why we talked about pylons and this and that all the way through. And you'll understand when I start to talk about that, how all that has to be gone for you to get from this point to that point. And that'll be what we'll talk about next time, and you'll see how it all fits in together, how the way it was taught. I was basically setting you up for this lecture from the very first lecture. And then after that, I'm with you on this. We'll see how it goes. After that time, we'll see if I've covered it all, if I've given you all the information. If not, then we'll do another one until I feel like I've gotten as much out as I need to. And then we're going to do like I said. So everyone take a deep breath. The seeds have been planted.
Yes.
And it's not, I want to make one thing really clear before everyone leaves. I am planting seeds. That's all. Your soil may not be ready for this seed to grow. It may just be there. Don't feel like you need to accept it or reject it. I'm not here to convert anybody or make somebody not believe what they believe or any of that kind of stuff. It's not what I am. I'm just here to share truth and a more accurate, honest way of looking at the process of living with life, and give it a chance to augment what you believe, or in some people replace it, or in some people be it. But it's not about converting anyone from one thing to another. It's about letting this be I think, a much needed backdrop to place, if you wish, a religion on that I don't think conflicts with anything religion says. I think it actually makes all religious belief systems much, much more powerful, because you're giving a whole different level of power to life and a whole different level of power to you. I'll let you decide which one gets a lot bigger and which one gets a lot smaller. But I think you all know the answer. And as you unite with that power that's getting bigger, you share in the power that gets bigger, but it isn't yours. And the one that gets smaller really is small in and of itself. And so you face that truth that we talked about when you look at the sky. Blue sky isn't the sky.